people in India also to get too late. So let me just start with introducing Sandeep to all the cohort companies. Sandeep is actually a founder of Garze Marathi. He's a fellow board member also at Garze Marathi. He was convener of the conference, if some of you attended that last year, Garze Marathi's Excellence Summit. And he's very active mentor. He just traveled to India also. I saw that he was presenting there too. So I'm really happy to have Sandeep here. Today's topic is very important. It's about building of the pitch deck. And sorry that we had to kind of reschedule this from our usual slot to today's slot because Sandeep was in travel, if some of you heard that earlier. But he has given this in the past cohorts as well. And he has been a mentor associated with our cohort for a long, long time. So I wanted him to present that. With that, I'll hand it over to Sandeep. And then after that, we'll have some more discussion. I'll give you some more inputs regarding the building of business pitch deck. Go ahead, Sandeep.
Yeah, thank you, Sanjay. I think this is probably the first cohort after a long time that I was not fully engaged. As you rightly said, right from the first cohort, I was fully engaged and being a mentor to a lot of the startups here, and also helping some startups offline as well. Knowing that this is going to be the last session, I'm going to be very interactive in this session. I want to make sure that the right reasons for this session are well understood by everyone who is going to write a deck. So my first question to each one of you, and I want to see the answers, is, okay, have you ever presented to an investor? I would like the startups to answer. I opened my chat. So I want to make sure that I'm addressing the questions rightly, and then, so I see that 3 of the maybe 10 odd people who have joined. Okay, 5, 6. So everyone, most of it, you. Okay, so who have not done? So can you also say no? Because I want to see if you're not done, that also needs to know. So with 3, 5, 6, I didn't take a poll, but I just want to get a feel of it. I see a primary ratio of people who have done in the past, but maybe still there are 2 or 3 people. So my next question will be, and I think this is going to be a subjective question, okay. Do you think you did your best job when you presented last? Just write subjective, yes, no, I think I could have done better, I think I had the best speech. I just want to understand. Go ahead and type, could have done better, yeah. This is just to set the expectations for this call and make sure that, you get what you want. And I emphasize on what you should be focusing on, okay. So primarily, if you have already presented, I just want to know, again, it's and I'm not sure, Sanjay, whether the team who said that they have presented in the past, can they tell me whether they made a pitch to SID for SID round or Series A? So basically,
most of these are very early stage. So most of those are at seed stage to angels.
Okay. Perfect. Okay. This bit of a apprehension to write about what didn't go right, or I think either some people just felt that 2 or 3 are there, like, okay, not the best. But I think the people who have already made a pitch in the past, and I don't know if they are somebody who thinks that, okay, I know what I'm doing. So the idea of this particular presentation is to give you elements of what a demo deck presentation should be. But prior to that, I'll just touch upon the different types of pitches you need to make. I'll start with that, and then I'll take it to the next level in terms of what are the elements of what it takes for you to make a good pitch deck. And I will tell you, and this is like kind of a disclaimer that, a fancy and a jazzy and a fantastic pitch deck doesn't mean that, investor is going to put money on your product. What matters is, the content and the problem you're solving. So that is kind of a warning in that sense. But however, आपण म्हणतो तसं कितीही असलं तरी इंटरव्ह्यूला आपण सूटबूट टाय घालून गेलो वर्सेस गोइंग इन अ बॅगी t-shirt and all, it's a different perception, right? So depending on whom you are facing, it matters. So that's why you wanted to know at least the elements. You don't have to have everything on the paper or at least on the deck. But what matters is, I think, what you are going to present to your investor. It doesn't matter whether it's on the slide, but it matters if you know your numbers well, if you know what you're talking about, if you know your product and the solution, right? So we'll go through that. We can go. So what I'm going to go through is the elements of the deck or the demo day pitch you need to make, and the pitch content can be something which you can talk about or something which you can write down. Okay. So let me start with, and I have for sharing, right? Okay, so I'm going to just share this and make it, you can see my screen, right? Okay.
Yes, we can see your screen.
I have to just start the presentation. Why is this? एक second, हे थोडं funny झालंय. I'm just not able to click that icon. Yeah. Right. So, so before, as Sanjay said, I'm one of the founder directors of GMG. This is probably the 5th cohort I've been engaged with. On my day job, I am a go-to-market strategy coach for a lot of companies. I'm a digital strategist. I've spent my 20+ years in corporate, working in US as well as in UK. Been there for last 20 years now. I've supported a lot of companies in last few years. I'm also alumni of Stanford Lead, where also I'm part of the executive leadership of an accelerator there. So combined with what I do in Innovation Academy here and there, I think I must have closed 200+ startups I must have looked into, and they've gone through across sectors where I guided and mentored and invested in few. I've angel invested in few of them here as well as in Armenia as well as in US. And I'm mentored to few of the startup companies, primarily in Marathi. So before you move to the real demo day pitch, I think I want to, and it's a very raw but important definition I want to all of you to understand, like what type of pitches, because it's just not the pitch which you make on the demo day is important, because demo day is all, most of the people think it's all about raising the funds. But I think you as a startup or a startup founder needs to have all these 3 types of pitches ready. If your objective is to just make a, and when we call it as elevator pitch, they say that, if you're going from one floor to the last floor or first floor to the 10th floor, you probably have more than 30 seconds to 1 minute. So how can you convince somebody in that elevator with such a small space and time about what you do? And the second is sometimes you are competing in a, Shark Tank is like this extreme, but a lot of competitions you want to win, a lot of hackathons, a lot of local competitions, or even there's tons of them going around. So how do you still make sure that they don't give you much time? And so does the demo day. So demo day is again depending on the number of startups you are competing against and the type of funds you're trying to raise. You may have to have a deck which is ready accordingly. Today we are only going to focus on the demo day pitch. Now this is not again a I would say this is a thumb rule, but I was very clear about this, that a good demo deck doesn't mean that you're going to win. What wins is the content in that slides, and probably that's, and even if and why you think it is important is sometimes we are not able to convey what real problem we are to solve, we are solving, and sometimes we are not able to convey what product we have built. So it's very important that there's a crystal clear uh, thought process in your mind about what you are pitching for, and then finally the ask. So I'll go step by step in terms of what it means. So what are the good tenets of a pitch deck? You know, it's very simple. You need to be very concise. Your diction about or the language in which you're going to talk about is thoroughly rehearsed. I won't say 100 times is it's too much, but somewhere where you feel, depending on the type of money and the type of investors you are working with, you have to make sure that your deck and your page is as crystal clear for them, because they, as I have said, somebody like me is not in this industry for long, has probably crossed 100 plus decks. I'm sure that the people you are going to see on a demo day, they must have seen thousands of them in their lifetime. So it's very, they have seen a lot of people trying to solve different problems, and they know what you're talking about, and their questions will be very pinpointed. So you have to have very simple visuals so that you can quickly talk about what product you have. No major jargons, but at least the personas should be clear in your mind. What I mean, so you have to put yourself in their shoes and understand what is that they are expecting from you. So and then of course the financial metrics and all that matters. Last but not the least, and I'll take this away, which got hidden, is a story. um, the most I would say, mm, underestimated part of this whole thing is a story. And in fact, there are a lot of books, a lot of videos about storytelling. And I keep telling this and time and again that your communication is so important. And the communication in 5 minutes means that you have to tell a compelling story. You have to tell why my product and how it is going to change the or solve the problem which you are trying to solve. So creating a story around it is the one of the most important aspect of writing your pitch deck. Okay. Oops. Yes. Um, so here I have created a checklist and the flow of your demo deck. And I'm pretty sure that most of it you have covered as part of this whole cohort. So I just want to take a pause here and say that, hey, I haven't learned anything about this in this cohort. So can somebody ping if he has not learned anything about this in this cohort? I'm just waiting for. Great. So this means that you know what you're talking about, because this cohort is all about the final culmination is all about you understanding each one of these element and making sure that you have understood the whole part of it. So I'm a bit curious about the financials part of it. Um, how many of you, if a lot of you have made a pitch, even if it's said, understand the acronyms I'm putting in the financials? We'll go step by step, but I just want to straight away jump into ARR and LTV and CAC. So can somebody talk about uh, what they understand about LTV? Anyone? Okay, I'm expecting people to write. Or I'll have to call name people. Okay, good. What is CAC? And do you know this? So can people write that, yes, I know my LTV, I know my CAC, or I don't know my LTV, I don't know my CAC? Can you just write there? Users is an easy thing, but how many of you measure these financials? Say yes, say no, there is nothing right. See, I think what a lot of our people, don't be afraid of saying that I don't know this, because I'm not your investor. what is important is your investor will be very much interested in knowing this. At least you should understand the concept, right? Okay. So the idea is we'll come to that in terms of why this and why I'm talking about this. See, end of the day, all of your investors who are going to listen to your story, you listen to your world-solving problem, capability. You would like to know whether it's going to make money for them in next 5 to 7 years. If he's not going to make at least 10 times in next 5 to 7 years, they will not be interested in that story. So one has to be very thorough in terms of what you want to do. Anything before that, and this is mainly for you to talk to the external investors. If you're talking to your friend, your family and all, then they just fall in love with somebody who's doing this and not with the problem or the solution you're making, right? So there's a big difference between who is going to give you money and when and what stage. So that's why there's a reason why bootstraps are with friends and family, because they have affinity towards you, they have seen you, and they know who you are. So that's the starting point of any of your presentations, even for next rounds, because who you are matters, and why I should give you money is equally matters. If I have X dollars to put on paper and give it to you, I need to know which team. And that's where I think if your team is your strong point, I would suggest that, when you're starting a pitch, make sure that all the pictures, who you are. And when I say who you are, not like, okay, I graduated from X and Y, Z, and I have a founder in. Talk about very specific, why this team came, or rather why this team came together to solve this problem and why they're important. And that's something should come out upfront if you think that, that is your strong point. You may have a problem or you may have a product which may still be in the making. There's still a lot of product discovery to be made. But if there is a strong team, then the investors might be very much interested in saying that, okay, I trust these guys. Maybe they have a credibility, you have experience in the industry, you may be, you may be something who have already done this in the past, something like that, or have some entrepreneurial experience. So they need to know who you are. And that's going to be a very starting point. The next thing for you to know is, okay, what problem I'm solving. And all of us believe that, the problem, I know my problem definition. But just, I'm sure this whole exercise uh, gave you a feel of, did you really solve the problem which the people were looking. So again, one more poll from my side. How many of you pivoted during this whole, is it 12 weeks exercise, Sanjay? This time?
Yeah, so far this is our 13th week. So
Yeah.
total cohort is 16 weeks. Yeah.
So can anybody tell me that, okay, it was a kind of an exploratory or other eye opener for them that, hey, we were probably looking at a different problem to solve? Can anybody confess that, yes, we thought that our problem was different and we solved a different problem, and they realize it through this process? Really? So everybody knew what problem they could solve? Great. So just to give, okay. So when you say fix the issue upfront, like as soon as you got into this cohort, or before you got into this cohort? This is for binary. Okay. So everybody else, before they joined the cohort, was very thorough about the problem they were to solve. Okay. Right, good. So the idea why I'm taking a pause here is, you might be thinking, why am I wasting my time on the problem definition? Trust me that, and all of you know the data, that, 9 out of 10 startups don't cross the 5-year mark. It's only because they don't believe that they're, that they need to pivot. They don't have the right problem, or rather they're solving the right problem. But reality is that if your definition is not right, then there's always a chance that your product or a solution is not in the right place. Now, why I'm going through this is because demo day deck you only have 5 minutes to present or 10 minutes, depending on how much. But the guys who are going to look into this is how you define the problem. That matters most for the investor. So it's very important that 50% of your job is done if the investor believes that you're solving the right problem. If they don't believe that you're solving the right problem, then whatever solution and product you make, you start losing their interest. Because at the end of the day, it's a serious money for them to have the conversation. Okay, perfect. Okay, so the next one is from the solution and the product perspective, I believe it's always required that you should have a unique proposition, but not necessarily in the way, for example, if I say that, okay, I solve a problem where there is not much, there are people who are doing this, but I have a product which solves it uniquely, right? You have to believe that the proposition you are making is going to convince the investor that your solution is unique. And they will check that based on the traction you've got. The traction means that, what is your current ARR? What is your, is it something which we are talking about the next time, which is the market, right? How many competitors you have? So I'll quickly jump to the market part of it, because I want to, and I think all of us, you must be thorough with your TAM, Samsung terminology, right? So I'm not going to repeat that for all of you. But how many of you believe that I don't have any competitor in the problem I'm solving? Can somebody write here that yes, I'm the unique and I don't have any competition? First class. That's what I wanted to hear. How many of you believe that you have a competition you can beat? Good. Only one. Okay. So, the most important part, I think, for us to understand in any market is, very rarely you have a proposition which doesn't have a competition. I mean, you can have a whole comprehensive list of products and feature list, but still some part or the other, whether it's B2B SaaS or not, you will have some competition. What is important for you is understand that competition very well. Let's say there are 10 elements in which you are competing with another vendor, and then some of them can compete with you in only 3 of them. And you might think that the person who's competing in 10 of them is your real competitor, and the person with only 3 of areas where they are competing with you are not your real competitors. But I think what you have to understand is it's quite possible that the person who is just focusing on these 3 can create a niche and then pivot so fast that you might, or your competitor whom you think is a real competitor, might lose out to that person. So understanding the competition and the elements of competition are equally important. And sometimes the competition comes from a very, very different stream, and you don't even think that is your competition. And just an example, all of us know that I don't think the movie theaters ever felt that uh, OTT will become their biggest competitor. And sometimes you feel that IPL is the biggest competitor even in entertainment industry for even the OTT platform, right? So you have to understand, okay, where is my competition coming from? And is it really, am I really disrupting, or is there a disruptor who can come and just destroy my product line? So one has to understand the competition, not from the players who are next door and doing the same thing as you're doing, but sometimes they can come from a completely new area. And it's very important for startup to understand, because uh, you have a very short span of life if you think in a very myopic way. You just try to understand that. And that's where this experience of these investors come in. They know this market very well. They are very smart, sharp, uh, especially if they are focusing on the sector in which you are proposing a product. So they will quickly understand. And I'm not going through all of this for the sake of it, but I'm going it to make sure that you understand the investor's mindset and the investor, uh, and think about him who want to put their money. You have put your money, you have put your time. He's going to only put his money bet on something which, it's more riskier than putting money in stock market. In fact, stock market is also very risky nowadays with a lot of companies going bust. But at least they have some public information available about you. It's not much available. So it's very important that all of this is very crystal clear and in your mind. Forget about them, because they want to see whether how clear you are in your mind about your competition. Most important part, I keep saying that because that's also my day job, is developing a go-to-market strategy. Do you know your customer? Do you know the channel through which he buys your product or can buy, potentially buy your product? Is it B2B, E2B, to C? What will be my pricing strategy if I'm working in a B2B world? And what will be my promotion strategy depending on the type of product I'm selling? So these are the few bullets. I can go on and on because I do this for living. Uh, but go-to-market strategy is very, very important. You can have the best product in the market, but if you don't have the right strategy to penetrate the market, it's of no use. If you don't understand who is going to buy your product, then it doesn't matter how good your product is. So getting that strategy right also matters, and it's very, very important. And that's where the investors also look in, because they want to know how fast you're going to bring your product into the market, how fast you're going to sell the product. Will it be, if your revenue is X and you say, I'm asking for $1 million, can you make it 3 times revenue in a year's time or 4 times? I mean, that numbers, everybody has their own numbers. And then they'll say, okay, if you're saying that, okay, I have 100,000 users using my platform. If you give me money to promote and I might do strategy or give some discount so that I define my pricing to lock my customers, then they want to say that if I put $1 million, if are you able to move your base from $100,000 to 1 million users so that you start clocking a better revenue than what you are currently clocking? So all these things, a lot of things you look, it looks like very generic and all that, but that's uh, the demo day guy is very much familiar with this, and I'm not sure Sanjay who is committed to this, but mm, most of the investors will look into this more than any other aspect. You know, uh, Again, going back to the business model, your monetization strategy is equally important. What is your revenue model? What is your pricing strategy? Who are we? How are you? How are you building your team? How are you managing your cost? All that matters when it comes to talking about your business model strategy. And again, I spoke about financials. They are something they will know. Like, let's say you're a year back company, a 2 year back. Okay, how much revenue? It doesn't matter whether you are not making money now, but what matters is, okay, what are you telling them when you say that this is what my numbers look like? Because if you're done your seed funding, if you're already there and you're already there in the market for 1 year or 2 year, whatever you want to call it, they want to invest. And I'll tell you that if you don't show growth of 3x or so, then that's not something which these people are interested in. At least the angel investors, or I would say the VCs have a much different because you're most of your seed guys. I just want to say that. And last but not the least, the call to action. It's like, what is your ask? Are you looking for 10K? Are you looking for 100K? Are you looking for $1 million? So you need to know how much money you're looking for, and then why you need this money. Is it because you want to invest into your product, or is it because you know um, you want to invest into your growth because you are expanding into geographies or hiring new salespeople, or invest into some digital promotion strategy? So you need to know why, and the last but and then of course how are you going to do that? That's what I just spoke about, right? How are you going to invest it? But and then secondly, where, right? Where are you going to put the money? And last but not the least, why again, I think why I repeated, because you have to ask, maybe that's a typo, but I want to again ask that for the sake of it, is why you really want that money. Uh, if you're diluting your equity by asking for more money, you better have a strategy to actually make use of that money, not for just buying some good furniture in your office, but making sure that you're investing into right technology. So all these questions need to be answered so well that they are convinced that my money is rightly used. All this is good, right? But for me, the most important part of this is after the demo day, how you also remain in touch with them. So don't forget to give your contact details in that demo day, and it should be bold and loud and clear where they should find you. They're on a demo day, they're talking to 20 different people, and you want to make sure that it's not only registered in their mind about who you are and where to find you, but also post demo day, you have to make sure that you have all the details so that you can follow up and build up a warm up relationship. Nobody writes a check just because they saw your pitch in 5 minutes time. But what you have to convince them is show some interest in their money by showing interest in them, and then follow up with them for some time so that they can get more data, make some more research about you, and then they will invest. So that's my experience, that I have rarely seen anybody putting money on the demo day, but they have definitely people who will show interest in your product, and you got to make sure that you don't lose interest with them. There are a few companies here, I can tell you, even in GMG, they didn't win, they didn't make a mark on the demo day, but they continue to follow up with the investors after the demo day, and I can tell you that a lot of that secured some fundings there. So with that, I just want to make some common mistakes, go through that. Like, again, I repeat what I said. You need to give attention to your problem definition. It looks very trivial, and trust me, that is the most important thing when you're actually looking at your solution and the product. That, am I solving the right problem? And that's the most important mistake people make, that they don't have a right definition of their problem. The other ones are like, they are very standard ones, but I would again focus on the fourth bullet, which is not telling the story in a simple and concise way. Don't use jargons. Don't try to tell them, no, not everybody's familiar with the jargons and the story you're trying to tell in more complex way. That doesn't impress them. And when I say that, why is a lot of people follow Warren Buffett. He said, he always says that, if I don't understand what I'm investing in, I'm not going to invest. And most of the people do that. That, if I don't understand the product or problem you're trying to solve in, I'm not even going to listen to you. So that's there. And then a lot of people do unrealistic valuation. Everybody thinks that I'm a unicorn. And then they have a very, and there's nothing wrong with it. You need to be very confident about your product and services, but try to be realistic as much as possible, at least during the investment round, because investments are made on realistic valuations, and you have to make sure that you're really making a pitch which is attractive enough, but not in such a way that yaar kya fekhta hai yaar, so then that becomes a yeah, and then you lose interest. So I encourage that. And most importantly, try to build your own fundraising network. Don't rely on these investors whom we invite or you go to a pitch. Try to attend a lot of this, investor networking sessions or summits or various places where you can meet these investors. Um, so my last uh, comment on this is, remember, we keep it simple. Don't over complex it or make it difficult for people. With that, thank you very much. I just want to thank you all, and I'll open it for questions now.
Go ahead with the questions. You can also put that in chat so that Sandeep can take one by one, but you can ask in person too. Just raise your hand.
Yeah.
Hi, good morning. Can I go?
Sure.
Yes.
Sandeep, thank you very much for the insight. So my name is also Sandeep. That's a coincidence. Anyways, so my question is, so you talked about pitch deck, right? So we've seen, and this is our experience so far, is the same pitch deck, kind of works for certain investors in the room. And the, same pitch deck doesn't work for the others in the room. Is it that their lookout is different, or the people who are investors in the room, they are looking for some kind of different measures, so which they are looking for?
So Sandeep, there are various things to consider, and I don't, and this is what I've mentored few startups here also. And I can tell you this is exactly the experience of a lot of people. Okay. Just because the investors didn't show interest in your product or solution doesn't mean that your pitch was bad. For various reasons. One is, of course, the interest of that particular investor. And if they are not interested in what you are building, or if that is not an area of their expertise, it's very likely that they'll just pass you on. Okay, that is one. And I can tell you one, and I don't want to name them because I think people can guess it like Sanjay easily. But in the company I was mentoring, they fall flat in the demo day when we had one. Okay, and we had best of the investors. And then I worked with them and I said, don't worry, it's okay, it's fine, because I knew that the people who wanted to invest were not the people. But till today, I can tell you within the GMG network itself, they have raised more than $500,000 after that. Because then their story, we worked on the story they were trying to build. And then we went to the right forums where they could make the story. So it so helped that, they're now very happy that it works. So my point, Sandeep, is there are various factors. One is the investor's mindset, and you may not like it, but even the demo day itself is very overwhelming. We have 20 people presenting, right? And I've done that in person. Last year, I was the one who was driving it in person yesterday. Last year in Bau. This year it is on 16th of March, right?
Yes.
So, yeah.
Yes.
So thankfully, I mean, I was there and I had to deal last minute because we had challenges with Madhav, unable to make it. But my in-person experience was that the judges were very involved, but the investors were not. And while we gave awards to a lot of people, and of course the products were good, they were not the real investors. But what happened is, because are we having some ranking this year, Sanjay? I'm sure there must be, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. So sometimes what happens is when you win, because the judges do, it's quite possible that that exposure also helps, and the same investors might come back to you and say that, hey, can you pitch me again? So for me, while you can do your best in terms of presenting in this way, it's not necessarily the right thing to, which will bring you investors in that meeting. I hope I answered your question. But most important is believe in your product. Don't believe that, it's like exam. We all tell our parents, tell them, parikshit napas zala म्हणून, or kami mark मिळाले म्हणून काही नाही. There are ways you can score yourself. You have more academic potential than the marks display what you are.
Yeah, I think you said it right. Believe in your product and believe in yourself. So आज ये है तो कल कोई और होगा.
Yeah,
God is always looking at the right things, and things will fall in place.
Yeah.
Got it.
It takes
Thank
some,
you, Sandeep.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. Is it a good idea to showcase a short product video as part of now? You can do a persona thing. That's my week. I mean, I can ask Sudhir what he thinks, but because he's a CX guy. But for me, if you have a 5 minutes time, 30 seconds is what probably is good enough. But I would the biggest danger of any pitch video and all that is technology. It's I always felt that however times you check, sometimes the demo may not work. Some video works, some technology issue and all that. So I personally don't recommend it, but I don't say that that is the no, not the wrong way also. Provided it's a very crisp and you can make some good sales persona story. A good persona story is important for sure. You should try to demonstrate that, because they also need to know who is buying your product. So if you can demonstrate it well, that also is good enough. But avoid a long 2 or 3 minute demo. That doesn't work, because if you are a seed to Series A, you're not hired a professional guy to show your product, and then that is not what you want to show, and then it becomes probably doesn't. It's not necessarily a good thing, unless you have some good professional editors to do that, or creative people. Okay. Or Rahul, you're asking what's typical IR investor expect? Right, that's a good question. So my experience when I spoke to people who write, and this is for people who wrote $500 to $1 million check. For them, your product should be at least giving him 10 times return in next 3 to 5 years. If there's a small ticket, they would expect at least 3 times in next 3 years. So if they don't see that revenue coming through your numbers, my take is that they will wait, because there are many others. Remember that 9 out of 10 fail. So people want to be very choosy about the money they're putting in. Even I am choosy. I don't put money in everything. Because the type of people you're going to work is angel investors. You're not going to VC. VC round is that's very different. So so even them, it's very stingy. They lose a lot of money, but still they will be choosy about whom they are investing. And times have changed now. Money is not free. Nowadays in US, it's very hard. Is it possible to share the broad list of investors for this year's demo day? This question for Sanjay. Sushant has asked a question, Sanjay.
So I just heard you saying that. So we, before our demo day, which is tentatively on 16th of March, based on our plan, we on that day or right after that, we'll release that list, or maybe the week before that.
Yeah. So, Sushant, my suggestion is don't worry about who is there. Of course, when you come to know about them, they will be introduced for sure during the demo day. Important is, if your story resonates well with an investor, make sure that you remain in touch with that investor to tell more about your story. That's important for you, rather than knowing them in beforehand. Right, Sanjay?
Yeah, that's true. And also to answer the other part of Sushant's question, no, we cannot share with you who they invested into. I mean, these are all personal informations with the company. Yeah. But you can always check their websites, see who the portfolio companies are. There is sometimes public information on which companies got investment and so on. So even sharing the names of the VCs, some VCs are reluctant, some VCs are welcoming that they don't mind taking the traffic. Some others would like you to go in the normal way. So just be careful on that.
Fair enough. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, the next question from Nilesh is, when you mentioned the investor looking for at least 3x returns, is it possible for you to share a bit more details of it using some numbers? Okay. So let's say you are saying that, okay, I am looking for, let's say 10 lakhs. I'm putting a number in, rupees. And for that, you already said that, oh, my current product based on my valuation done by a third party is, let's say, 3 crores. So obviously, based on your current market valuation, you're going to put that 10 lakhs into the number of shares you're going to allocate based on the percentage you are going to dilute. Now, in 3 years' time, if you say that, okay, I'm currently at 3 crores, but I'm going to reach 10 crores or 20 crores. That's the valuation. I mean, so when are you going to reach 10 crores? Like roughly, I'm talking 3 times returns, which means my 10 lakh is going to get proportionately that much returns. Not exactly, but proportionally that much returns. Of course, that is dependent on Are you going to exit? Are you going to continue? Are you going to like dilute further? Is your valuation going to go down or up? Because that will be again dependent on whenever you're going to raise next. If your valuation goes up, obviously the market valuation goes up, which means that the value of my share goes up. So that's the potential they look at. But currently, if you look at Byju's, right? I mean, people, it was in billions and came into millions. So if you're waiting for that long, then that doesn't work, right? So there's always that thumb rule people follow, but it doesn't mean that it works. Sometimes you need to know when to exit properly. But that is the job of that angel investor to really see when I want to exit and what are your exit clauses. Most likely you will not want to exit them in a year time. You have at least some locking period, or at least when you are planning for the next round. So they will try to understand also when I want to, have the next round, how much money you're going to raise. So that type of clarity also you should have in your mind, so that they can make a decision fast. Okay, anybody? Yes, yeah, that's a good. So the college, some investors want a share of revenue as opposed to equity. Your thoughts on, yeah, that's a, yeah, it does. There are people like that who do that. But I'll tell you, I have come across at least two of these companies who are ready to share that revenue in the initial years, Sudhir, to saying that, let me see whether you are going to make money or not, right? So, because if I lock my money for next 3 years, I don't have any visibility whether the valuation is going to go up or not. But it is not in the interest of founders, for sure. The founders, yeah, they probably will not really benefit with that type of arrangement unless they're desperate to have the money. If I was a founder, I'll try to refrain away from that type of model. But then it depends, today if somebody says, Mirko, I really want that to happen, that's the negotiation skill people may have. But that's not an ideal situation for a founder. You're on mute, Sudhir.
Sorry, Sandeep. So why do they say debt is cheaper than equity? Because if you're borrowing money and they're taking a cut from the revenues, that would be a kind of debt, right?
Yeah, but if 9 out of 10 startups fail, it's a lottery for them anyways when the equity. Like I have put in money, but I know.
Right.
See, yeah. For them, when you lose the money, is money gone, right?
Mm-hmm.
Founders, it's still a notional equity.
Yeah.
Because whenever that guy is going to exit, he might exit lesser than what his valuation is put in, right? Most of the times it does, right? So for me, that is kind of a free money. And for me, as an angel investor, I think Sanjay will tell us more that, unless there are sizable number of investments I make, I'm not going to make money and I have to believe in that. That make 10 ते 12 इन्व्हेस्टमेंट करेल त्यातली एखादी चालणार आहे. तर तो रेशो बघितला तर तुला ते माहितीच आहे की पैसा is going to be, of course you trust your product and services, but for founder, I feel that not the best because he wants to conserve every revenue cash flow he has. He starts distributing dividends now, and he probably is going to have that cash flow issue. So,
Thank you.
मला वाटतं मी एक थोडंसंच आय थिंक फार छान हे झालं आणि वन थिंग यू सेड ॲट द बिगिनिंग आय थिंक आय वुड जस्ट एम्फसाइज युअर first presentation, and I was talking to Dheeraj Pandey of Nutanix and DevRev, and why team matters. I just want to emphasize that Dheeraj got literally $70 million at seed round. So if you look at Dheeraj Pandey's DevRev company, 70 million seed round, and it's all about आणि अक्षरशः मला धीरज म्हणत होते की माझ्याकडे बॅग घेऊन लोक उभे होते बिकॉज आय एम स्टार्टिंग अ न्यू कंपनी.
So Dheeraj is part of this code? Sorry, I don't know this.
No,
No, he is not.
There is nahi hai.
नाही नाही, धीरज पांडे न्यूटॅनिक्सचा को फाउंडर आणि आता त्यांनी डेव्हरेव नावाची न्यूटॅनिक्स नावाची क्लाउडची कंपनी आहे मोठी.
Sorry, I didn't know that.
हा, आणि त्यांनी जेव्हा डेव्हरेव चालू केली तेव्हा $70 million सीड राउंड. He has
Wow.
not gone to Series A yet.
Yeah, that's primarily because of the Nutanix success he had. And
या, आणि हे अगदी मस्त
Oh,
पहिलं
Linux.
प्रेझेंटेशन केलं तुम्ही, ते इतकं एम्फसाइजिंग आहे टीम, बिकॉज पीपल सेड ओ धीरज अँड Agarwal is Manoj Agarwal and Dheeraj are starting a company. Okay, here is the money.
Yes.
Don't tell me what you are doing. Here is the money.
नहीं अपन जातो ना, बच्चन का मूवी है तो चाहिए यार, बच्चन है ना, शाहरुख है तो जाना ही है ऐसा.
Rajni is there. Come on, let's go.
So the team, a lot of people undervalue that importance. I can tell you, if you have a great story. See, another thing is not just the founders. I feel that your mentors, your board of advisors, they also
Yes.
make a big difference. You have to
Yes.
show that whom you are working with, who are guiding you, who are promoting you. That also matters a lot. So team is not just the people who are working on ground. That's
Right.
who is behind you. Even the current investors, a lot of people try to hide. When you go for a demo, they say, okay, oh, I don't had any investment, or try to tell, because that gives you them the confidence कि किसी और ने तो पैसा लगाया है तो अपन ने भी लगाया तो कोई बुरा, it's not nothing wrong with it. That's also very important. Even I put in, I'll be honest, when I put money, I ask people, phone karke, and I ask them the list of people who have invested. Then I ask them why you invested and what is your valuation of this company. I don't ask them the valuation in which they have put in the money, but where do you see them getting the money?
आणि आपल्याकडे जसं इकडे असतं की लीड इन्व्हेस्टर सगळ्यांना गोळा करून घेऊन जातो आणि बाकी लोक म्हणतात ओके ह्या लोकांनी ठेवलंय म्हणजे मी ठेवतो पैसे.
Yes. Yeah, that makes sense.
So, Sandeep, I have another question. This is pretty much a follow-up questions from what I asked earlier. So let's say you are in the room, right? And the demo day is going on. The founders, directors are coming in, pitching. So you, from your experience, and of course the other mentors also from their experience can share and guide over here, that what are the top 3 things that you look into the person who's pitching or the company who's pitching? It could be team financials, or it could be the market that is he's serving, or the pie that he's trying to take out of that serviceable market. So for you, what are the top 3 things that you look into the pitch?
For me, okay, I'll talk about me and then I think we can have a round robin. For me, 3 first important is problem definition. Okay, what problem you're trying to solve. Second is the team. I will not ignore that, again and again emphasize, whom I am betting on. And third is, what is your track record, your financials. जो आप claim कर रहे हो, right? You'll say that, oh, I'm going to make 100 crore business in 3 years time or 5 years time. भाई दिखा कि पिछले 2 साल में तूने क्या किया, 1 साल में, what you have done. So your track record, your team, and the problem you're trying to solve. Because I want to trust that you're solving the right problem through your financials. And then I want to believe that is the right team who is solving the right problem. So these 3 for me. I will give it to others.
Sure, thank you. I just want to add to the last one you said, track record. Let us say the company is from 0 to 1, and the company is yet to find their first customer. So the financial or track record doesn't come in picture. And how do you kind of counter that?
So see, if you don't have a track record, I'll tell you that for me, this is me, I'll say कि बाद में let's talk after 6 months. I want.
So you'll not make a decision, or you would not be interested.
I'll pass. Or if I find that you're solving the right problem, and if I see the right team behind it, I'll say that let's talk after 6 months so that I can see that there are some claims you are making are coming to some realization. Because the demo day is just the starting of a journey with the investor. A lot of people forget the investor as soon as the demo day is done. My take is completely wrong. Don't take it that way. You should, if you feel that, okay, he's the right investor for me, make sure that you have the right connection with him throughout. So, yeah.
So
Even
just to add to what Sandeep said, so there is this current track record with your current company, but also what matters is your track record in your past companies. Like the example that Mandar was giving earlier, that you have proven yourself overwhelmingly, you have made your investors tons of money in the previous company.
yeah,
Then okay, even if you don't have any track record in the present company, then people flock to you because they believe that okay, last time you were successful, although there is no guarantee that okay, you are a proven person, right? And that applies to all of your team, that applies to your advisors, mentors, meaning if you show on your slide that oh, such and such person is your advisor, that also adds some value. Of course, they are going to first look at who's going to execute, right? So having a good team is really important.
I think very good point, Sanjay ji. I think one point I'll make sure. I just have about like a month ago, I was helping, and a simple thing, even what both Sandeep and both said was, I was presenting to a VC, and VC asked me, XYZ person who is the chief engineer here. And the moment I told him, oh, this person used to work for Google, and in Google XYZ, here is the code he wrote. Think about it. He didn't even ask about the new product. Oh, in Google, he did this. Oh, these are like XYZ. And they were so impressed. Like amazing.
Right, right. So typically that's the reason that the serial entrepreneurs here, especially I look at many of those here in Silicon Valley in US, they are serial entrepreneurs because they have first made money to the investors, not just to themselves, right? So next time when they start some new venture, then investors are willing to bet on them, saying that, okay, last time he has proven himself, and so on. So they keep on building on their career on the next one. Some of these serial entrepreneurs have returned money almost 60-70% times. So their track record is much better than normal companies where only 1 in 10 succeeds.
Yeah, I would also
Um,
say that in terms of the total presentation, what works the best in terms, I'm not referring to the specifics here, is authenticity and transparency. Because here's somebody putting money into your venture. I think you have to exude that trust, and you have to portray yourself as a very authentic person. And I think because that carries through the entire presentation. And if that is there, even if one or two small things are lacking, I think people will, forgive you for that.
That's right.
yeah, yeah. So true, so true.
Okay, we'll just take one last question and then I have few 5 minutes of other things to present. So Mayur, I think you have raised your hand for some time.
Yeah. संदीप जी, थँक्यू फॉर द सेशन. सो क्विकली 2-3 ऍस्पेक्ट आहेत. एक आहे हे जे निश एरिया बद्दलचं एक्सप्लेनेशन असतं. वेन यू डोंट हॅव अ ट्रॅक रेकॉर्ड, तुम्ही नाव घेतलं बच्चन आणि ते सगळे त्यांचे पण पहिले 7 फेल झाल्यानंतरचे मूवी चालायला लागले. तर वेन वी आर बिल्डिंग अवर ओन ट्रॅक रेकॉर्ड ओव्हर द पिरियड and we don't have network and all those aspects, so it's a new thing for the new investors, and it's all the content which need to move forward. And when the content is about the specific niche area, sometimes our experiences, it takes a lot of effort to like convincing them both problem statement as well as opportunity in the ecosystem, like the e-commerce मध्ये पण logistics specific problem. Sometimes it becomes 2-3 rounds of discussions, but it ends up becoming an education about the ecosystem rather than the solid like we worked in that area for 5 years, we have our own track records of that, but that sometimes if you don't have reference or something, so how do you effectively handle this? Means both ways, it gets missed by investor as well to work with the right founding team, and by the founding team as well, they miss out on the investor. How do you manage such kind of communication? What is the way? Yeah.
So okay, so let me answer you the पहिलं जे मी बच्चन वगैरे म्हणालो ना, तर ते टीमचं का याच्याशी महत्वाचं आहे की then the job is easier, right? What
Correct.
Sanjay said and everything, right? But that doesn't mean that if your product and the content, right, if it is right, so what is the other parameter I said? Financial track record, right? Whether it's from the current company or your existing or in the past, right? So if you are solving the right problem, the problem definition is so important again. And again, you said लोकांना सांगायला वेळ लागतो, कळत नाही वगैरे, whatever it is, right? And the only answer is keep trying, because you will have to hit with till the right investor and right, त्याला वेळ लागतो, असं आहे ना. सो आपण काय म्हणतात त्याला, असं म्हणजे परत एक कॉनोटेशन टाकलं तर ओके, लग्न करताना आपण मुली जेव्हा बघतो तर सगळंच बघायला लागतं, राईट? मग त्याच्यामध्ये तो ऍस्पेक्ट जोपर्यंत तिला पटत नाही की हा नाही, हा इज द गाय फॉर मी ऑर तोपर्यंत वेळ लागतो. सो देर इज नो बुलेट प्रूफ हे, बट देर आर इंडिकेटर्स आय गेव यू 2 or 3 when you have to follow. But sometimes, and that's why it's important that whom you are making demo to as well, right? Try to be in the right forum, try to make sure that your story is compelling. Your story. So there are various aspects of your story which needs to be improvised as we learn from each of the demo day investor, So that's very important. Storytelling is probably at the heart of, so a lot of courses on art of storytelling. I can go on with that, How to tell your story well is so important that किती चांगलं कंटेंट असेल पण तुम्ही जर चांगली स्टोरी नाही सांगू शकले तर इवन you can't convince anyone. So that's my.
तो एक ऍस्पेक्ट आहे की म्हणजे आता हे आमचं सेकंड स्टार्टअप आहे. वी आर गोइंग थ्रू अँड लर्निंग एट एव्हरी ऍस्पेक्ट एज यू आर राईटली सेइंग. सो म्हणजे कंटेंट आणि स्टोरी टेलिंगचं वी आर लर्निंग अगेन. देयर इज लॉट ऑफ थिंग्स टू लर्न, बट इज देयर अ स्मार्टर वे इन द न्यू एज ऑफ दिस AI रेफरन्सेस, लिंक्डइन अँड ऑल, वेअर आता मुलीचं तुम्ही जे एक्झाम्पल दिला त्यावेळी पण आपण रेफरन्स मधून असेल तर मग ते डायरेक्टली कुंडलीच्या पण गोष्टी इकडे तिकडे असल्या तरी रेफरन्स ऑलवेज टेक्स दी बेनिफिट. तर असं काय वे आहे की वेअर in
So
a positive,
I would say,
transparent way?
yeah, you've done the right thing by joining a cohort. Keep joining different cohorts. Yeah. So, I mean,
Correct.
you have to join and get the right people. I mean, Rahul is here second time around, right, Rahul? There's a reason why he's doing it second time around, right, Rahul? Want to comment on that?
Right. Yes, that's right.
I've been working with
No,
him.
absolutely makes sense. Yeah.
Rahul, you want to say something?
No, I think you're absolutely right. So that being in the community is very important. Stay in touch.
You have to constantly
Absolutely.
keep them warm, कसं build करावं लागतं network.
Build करावं लागतं.
So
That's why I said
I'll just make a quick
one of
comment
the
on
common,
Yeah,
one of
go
the
ahead,
common
go ahead,
mistakes
Sandeep.
I mentioned was that you have to build your own point raising network, मला पण फुलवा होत नाही तिथे, you have to make sure that people understand what you're trying to say.
Yeah, so just to add to that and to answer that question as well, the VC network or angel network or investor network is still in this past era where it works by reference a lot more. So don't expect that because you posted something on LinkedIn or something that some investors are going to flock to you. Investors do approach you. I have, in my experience, they do try to connect to you, and you can get your first introduction pitch by doing that as well sometimes. But it doesn't, the best thing I have seen working is through network. You have to build your network. People who know you are most likely going to invest in you. Okay, so with that, I'm going to sort of try to end this session on the Q&A because I do want to spend a couple of minutes on other information. So Sandeep, really thank you for that presentation and very, very concise way of giving guidelines and inputs to all the cohort companies. We will have our demo day. We are trying to work on the logistics of it, but based on our original plan of this cohorts, our 16 weeks would end on 16th of March. So we are trying to arrange demo day on that time. It could go about a plus week here and there. And last year, for the previous cohort that I was leading, we did it in real time as well, meaning we had a in-person venue at COEP's Bhau Institute at Pune, which is where Sandeep was there in person. And then we always do it online as well. So the structure of this demo day is that we ask all the cohort companies, those companies who are ready to pitch to investors. If somebody feels that they are not ready, we don't encourage them to, because it's waste of your time and their time. So we want you to present a 4-minute video pitch. It's not in-person pitch. Even if you're going there to Bhau Institute, we encourage that you have a 4 minutes video pitch because a lot of things can go wrong. It usually takes longer time over there in person and so on. So in order to just keep that process well structured and controlled, your pitch should be 4 minutes video pitch. Don't exceed 4 minutes. Don't try to, many people come back and say, oh, it's only 4 minutes and 10 seconds. Is that okay? No, it's not okay, because we want to be fair to everyone. Everyone has the same bar and you have to make it fit in 4 minutes. So that's number one. Okay. The second thing is you have to practice it a lot. There is the content portion of your demo, a demo pitch, and then there is a presentation portion. So for the presentation portion, you have to practice it a lot. I have been public speaking coach in other places and so on. You just have to practice in front of, we say mirror first time, but eventually in terms of your family, friends, go through a number of presentations. And to help you with that kind of preparation of that presentation, I was recently discussing with one of the Marathi entrepreneurs who's working with us at Garze Marathi too. And she has a company which has come up with a kind of a presentation feedback in a interacting way. So it's like a AI coach, if you will. And I had discussions with her, and she's willing to sort of give that as a trial version to anybody, any of you who want to use that tool. It's a tool to make your or sharpen your presentation deck. So I'll just share one slide in terms of what it is. And then those of you who are interested can just go to that website, see whether it's interesting to you. And then there will be a kind of a demo license that can be given to you for certain duration that will cover the demo day pitch as well. Okay, so this one slide kind of gives that background. Can you see the slide? So the company's name is Miro, Miro.ai. It's a Convo Coach Personal. So you go on that, you upload your video, the one that you are going to sharpen or prepare for this demo day. And this is kind of a AI coach which analyzes how you are presenting it, what's your body language. It's not so much about the body language yet, right? It's more about the voice cues in terms of your energy level, your positivity, and so on. And then it will give you sort of some grading on that in terms of how much is your engagement score, how much is your positivity, how much is your energy in the speech, how much is the variation in tone, and all those kind of things. So see, again, we don't usually allow commercial kind of venture into this thing. So this is right now for non-profit. So I asked her to give a free license to whoever is interested. And there is this use code free trial 90. So you can go to that site and then you can sign up on that. And as a return, maybe we can give your feedback to this founder. So Maithili Sawant is the founder on that one. And next week, again, this is open now. So I am going to upload this slide on Slack so that you also know how to sign up on that one and use that trial code and you can get started on that. Okay, so a couple of things starting from today, given that you had all the inputs. Today we had Sandeep's presentation about the pitch deck and we had 2 previous presentations. So Vaibhav Damkumar gave you inputs regarding what are VCs looking for. So that is there. So just combine all that knowledge and everything that we have worked on in the past 13 weeks, your go-to-market strategy, your sales strategy, your pricing strategy, everything, all of that, and create a pitch deck. Some of you have done this in the past. I have seen your pitch decks. So take another hard look at it. In my own experience, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm founder. My pitch decks kept on changing as I was pitching to investors. So I pitched to the first investor, some feedback came, I had to modify that and so on. Every time it gets better and better. So don't be shy to sort of take that feedback from investors and include that and improve that. So in the next 2-3 weeks, with your mentors, with your family, friends, you will start pitching this, you'll start collecting that feedback. And next week in the breakout room session, we'll go over that pitches and we'll do that in the main session as well to accommodate everybody and give them their feedback. So the presentation format, both in our internal pitches, which are preparation for the demo day, is going to be 4 minutes of a video, which you can start uploading. We have created a site, Devdutt has created that folder there. You can upload it over there, we'll run it. we will have 4 minutes for presentation, 4 minutes for Q&A. So on demo day, we will have investors, we'll have judges, and they'll give you, or they'll ask you questions and so on. When we do this in-person event at, let's say, COP, that's where most likely we'll do it, but we'll announce all the logistics there. You can go there on stage, those whoever can attend that. And then once you present, your video is presented, that 4-minute Q&A portion, you can do it in person. And I always encourage people to go and meet with these investors, the judges, anybody there, just to create that network and have one-on-one interaction, because this 4-minute thing, you need to have follow. So you can exchange your business cards, you can exchange your emails, those kind of information when you meet in person. So we'll announce the logistics of that event. I'm discussing that with Anandji, who's also in India, and we will discuss the venue and then finalize that. But the logistics of it is going to be similar to our past course, which is 4 minutes of a video presentation. Okay. Any questions on that?
Yeah, so I think Sanjay, most likely it will be Bhavan Institute is what
Yes.
Sanjay told me. So right. The other thing is, I think all of you need to know that if you are too perfect, then you would have not been in this cohort. So just keep that in mind and don't beat yourself up. Okay, even if you go wrong on the demo day. So just believe in your product and solution and you will be all right. So that's my final comments before you sign off.
Right. We'll share with you some tips. We will have internal discussion also in terms of your pitch decks that you are building. So next week we'll also have that feedback. But there are some additional tips that we'll also share with you in terms of the demo day presentation, which will be useful for any investor presentations, by the way. So those hints also we'll share with you.
This is good though. I would like to try this. At least it's a good starting point.
Yeah, so any of you who want to try that out, go to that site. Before kind of presenting it here, I did work with Maithili and I kind of also looked at it and tried some of the previous presentations on that just to get some feedback on that. This is the presentation portion of it. Again, this is still early version for that company's product. So take it with a grain of salt, but the product is there. So I just thought it will be helpful to some of you.
Yeah, and last but not the least, don't read your deck when you're presenting. Just don't read it. That's also another, that energy and positivity made me feel, talk about that. A lot of people just read what they have written.
Yeah, so in terms of that, creating that video pitch, the tips that we give or the inputs that we have is you can do a Zoom session of yourself, and then your image appears in your video appears in one corner. Just make sure that that corner there is no text there on your slides, because if you cover that, then it becomes very annoying. So you can usually leave your image on the maybe right top corner where there's not any content on your PowerPoint slide. So you have to just make sure that you arrange it that way. And then, as Sandeep said, don't read your slides. Try to create that pitch, bring that energy in. That energy doesn't come in if you are reading that slide. And the third thing is you should never anyway read slides during presentation, because anybody who's looking at your slides, they can read it faster than what you are verbally saying that. So they'll be ahead of you and then they will miss what you are saying. So you should be just using that slide as kind of a baseline and make just key points on that slide saying, okay, this is what it is. On numbers and other things where it's ARR, anything, your profitability, bar charts and so on. Those slides are very useful there, because that gives, at one glance, it gives the right picture about your company. I see that about 2/3 of you already had some level of a deck, and I have seen some of your decks, but even if you have a previous deck, try to improvise that. And I'm telling you from my own personal example that as much as you think you have prepared and you have the best deck in the world, when you go in front of an investor, you'll always learn something new, and you will always find that to include in your deck next time you present to another investor, not necessarily to the same one. Also take that feedback seriously. So never question that, saying, okay, you don't understand that market, I understand this market, kind of. Don't piss off anybody. I think I made that comment sometime back. Somebody asked me that question. The investors have a network. So if you piss one investor, they're going to say, okay, yeah, this guy was really not good to me. And then somebody else is not even going to call you then at that point. So just be careful. Even if they're not right, you just have to take their input and say, okay, I believe that this is the right thing, but just leave it at that. Don't go into a pissing contest there.
Yeah, and I'll tell you just to hear that if you would have seen the YouTube pitch deck when they first pitch to their investors, you will just laugh at it. So we don't get overwhelmed by the fact that, a good pitch deck doesn't mean good investment. Look at YouTube where it is today. So,
Right.
so you can make a Google search and find some of the good unicorns and look at their first pitch decks. Starbucks, YouTube, and there are many who are like pathetic in the way they started with. But that time was also different. I don't think they had that information which is available last decade or so. But just to give you some comfort if you feel bad about your pitch deck.
Yeah, so we have 10 more minutes. Either we can go into breakout room or you can ask questions here. If you have questions, we can just spend that 10 minutes here. Anybody has questions?
Sanjay ji, it's not a question. In earlier cohorts, we used to have one session on different grants available to startups.
Yes.
Time we are going to have that, or?
Yeah, so we'll try to squeeze it in the next week's session. Vijay ji is going to present. He was planning to present that, or that was the plan. If he is not able to present, we'll still include that material there. He was busy. He was tied up with his son's marriage, which was yesterday. So that's the reason he's not there on this call today as well. And some of the guys are also attending that. But his presentation, we'll try to schedule it in the next week, 2 weeks, so that this presentation is about grants, and grants are always non-dilutive, but they come up with their strings too. But at least the information is there then. Good point, Sanjay.
Thank you.
Thank you. I think I'll take a leave, Sanjay.
Okay. Thank you, Sandeep.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye.
Bye. Okay. Any other questions from the cohort companies? Just knowing today's time and knowing Indian time, and you need to go to work and so on, I tried to keep this breakout room anyway short today, but since there were questions, I thought it's better to take those questions. So in the 10 minutes, are there any other questions? If there are no questions, we can even stop here.
So it's going to be a 4 + 4 minute, is it? It's
Yes.
8 minutes.
Yes. It's 4 minutes of presentation. And we leave in the logistics of it, we leave 4 minutes for Q&A, but it could happen either way. Okay, some of you have been in there in the past cohorts, or some of you have attended the Spark Room session that I conducted at the last GMG conference. And that 4 minute, the investor judges may or may not ask questions. Okay, so it's not given that you will always have those 4 minutes. Depending on how many questions are expected there, you can use those 4 minutes, for example, to make more explanation. But even if you don't get too many questions, don't feel bad about it, because you have made your pitch and the follow-up is anyway offline, meaning you're going to later on approach those investors who have shown interest in it. Sometimes when you go to investors, or sometimes demo day sessions like that, if your market or your product is in particular segment and the investors are not necessarily familiar with that segment, it takes them time to understand that, and they have to do their background work and come back to you. So there's always a follow. Don't expect that on demo day somebody is going to write you a check. It never happens that way. So it usually takes a lot of follow-up after that. Any other questions?
So on the demo day, it will be also on the Zoom, like the
Yes,
similar
so
session.
So people who are not in India, for example, are not able to attend in person, we have a Zoom call. So I actually will conduct that session from here. The 4 minutes video pitches will be presented. Last time we essentially did the live link over there where the presented sessions was shown there on the screen. And the Q&A was done in person for the companies who were there physically. But if nobody from your company can attend that event, in that case, it's still the live session is still going on. So you can answer those questions on the Zoom call like this.
I have a question regarding this video pitch again. So basically, if we are attending we are able to attend the demo day in person, then this video pitch is not needed?
It is still needed. And the reason is that we want to control what goes into that content of it. Because sometimes when you go on stage, although everybody thinks that you'll do phenomenal and so on, something goes wrong, mic doesn't work, sometimes people get nervous. So it's better that in your comfortable environment, which is your home, office, whatever it is, that you record a pitch that you have practiced several times. And if you don't like it there, you can drop the content, you can edit that. And so you are putting your best foot forward, right?
Okay.
So we want you to put that best foot forward, and in person, whatever charisma that you have there to show in front of those investors, you still have that opportunity in those 4 minutes.
Okay, so we are on stage, but still that video pitch will be running, and then after that Q&A will be actually in person.
That's correct. That's
okay,
correct.
understood.
That's
Okay.
Yeah. So in the next few days, start working on that pitch in terms of presentation. But first, try to finalize that on PowerPoints. You can share that with your mentors. The companies that I'm mentoring, we have already gone through. I have seen, for example, our Zoom's presentation material, at least their existing deck. It will get evolved and all that. But same thing with all of you. If you have existing presentation, now go through the new tips or new inputs that were given to you. Try to see whether you need to make changes. Most likely you will make changes on that one. So that's number one. And then it's a presentation. So try practicing that presentation, try recording that, showing it to somebody else, take his or her inputs. Through that, you will iteratively improve on that. Then this tool that I just offered to you, if you want, you can try out on that tool as well. That tool will give some feedback to you. Make all those inputs come to you and you say, okay, yeah, I like this. I may not like that, what I heard from that tool or whatever. And then you do your best. Then your mentors will look at your video. They'll give you feedback, and we'll have a session which is just an internal before demo day, right? Internal business pitch presentation deck. And there, all the mentors on this cohort can chime in terms of giving you feedback. So it's not just your own assigned mentor, but other mentors will also provide you feedback. So that way you get as much feedback as possible.
Yes, understood. Thanks.
And whoever starts uploading their presentations, I will personally start looking at their presentations, so that's how it becomes most effective. So don't wait for next Friday or Saturday to upload your presentation. If you think you are ready, if you have practiced it, there are no obvious errors in that one, go ahead and upload that, because it gives more time for mentors in that case to look through your presentation. Otherwise, comes Friday, Saturday, it becomes very hard to look at 10 presentations or 20 presentations. Okay, any last questions? Okay, so the next 2-3 weeks are very critical. Everything that you have learned, you have practiced, you have done homework, assignments, and everything. That covers your go-to-market, that covers your unit costs, that covers the business development, customers, and so on. All of that has to show up into this presentation. Not necessarily, when I say show up, don't make one slide for one slide. Try to make the key points that the investors are interested in. And don't put too much of verbiage over there. Don't put too many lines of words and so on. Minimize the words that go onto a slide. Make it as pictorial as possible. Bar charts, graphs, those are good. Pictures are good. The storytelling is good. So just a very minimal information there on the slide, but verbally it has to come out from you. That gives you more opportunity to provide as much positivity or energy into that presentation. Okay, so good luck to all of you, and looking forward to all your pitches. I think we are getting into this last stretch of this cohort in the next 2-3 weeks. We will also keep covering the rest of the material as the question was previously asked on the non-dilutive funding and so on. So we'll also try to cover that in the next 2-3 weeks.
Sure.
Okay, thank you guys. See you
Thank
next
you.
week.
Wish you all the best.
Next
Thank
week
you.
it will be
Thanks.
on the
Take
regular
care.
time. Okay.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey there.
So no breakout sessions today?
No breakout session because it is Monday India morning time. So I wanted to keep it brief. And last week we didn't have any specific assignment given to the companies. So in some ways there was no new assignment to review. Now onwards, it's mostly all going to be about business pitch. But some of the companies, if they have not done the previous assignment, they may stumble into those areas. Devdutt, you can just on Slack, you can post a message on the folder that you have created for uploading their business pitch decks.
I think you did already.
Yeah, folder is there. You also sent out email. Okay,
Yeah.
in that case, that's good. That's done.
Yeah, I'll post it
Okay.
on Slack. I've sent out email, but I'll post it on Slack as well.
Okay, sounds good. And then the presentation slides from Sandeep also, you can post it there in Slack.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, thank you guys.
Thank you.
Bye.